Welcome all. This is Carbon Paper, and this is our new podcast series called the Carbon Copy. And I'm your host Karan JP. And today we have a very young and vibrant guest, Mr. Siddarth Gangal, who is the alumni of IIT Mandi and the CEO of the Solar Labs. Welcome, Siddarth. How are you?
Hi Karan, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for giving us this time to have this interaction with you in a very tight situation for all companies, I say.
I'm happy to share my thoughts and share parts of our journey.
More than the questions we are actually once we did all our research, we were eager to know your story. So I understand the Solar Labs is an IIT incubated startup. So can you walk us through the journey of how it all started?
So our journey began in IIT Mandi, where I and a couple of my batchmates were students. So I did a lot of research in solar with professors. I worked in internships in the solar industry. And I figured out that there's a lot of places where technology could add process improvement to how the industry functions. So with a few ideas in mind, we then started to research. We went out, spoke to multiple solar installers. We spoke to customers, like the end customers who, like for example, like yourselves, who might know about solar, but they're not really adopting solar. So why are they not? So we did a lot of research and we figured out that solar is not growing fast enough, mainly due to two reasons. The first is that the consumers are not aware about what solar can do for them. I mean, definitely, everyone knows what solar is, and it's very much covered in newspapers, magazines, but no one knows what it does for them and their house personally. The second reason it's not growing was that even solar companies, solar installers found it very expensive to do engineering, create high quality sales proposals that actually explain the process of going solar and the technology behind solar to customers. So obviously they were not converting as many as they reached. So we started off to solve these two problems, and I was joined by two of my batchmates in college, and then we essentially started off. IIT Mandi has an incubator called Catalyst, which supported us initially through a lot of mentorship, some grant money, and eventually an investment, which gave us the confidence to not take our job offers. So we were in 8th semester at that time. We were offered this investment right then. So that gave us confidence to essentially tell parents that, okay, we're not taking jobs and we're going to do this full time. And yeah, so that's how we started.
I mean, that's a pretty, a very interesting story. I mean, for all young entrepreneurs, who are just finishing the college, who wants to start a, their own business idea. To my understanding, the solar policies are still adapting in India. So now when you're in this particular industry, like how do you perceive the growth of the solar industry?
So solar policy by the central government is quite progressive. So we have net metering provisions, and we have a lot of we have a very high target that PM Modi had also announced, right? 175 gigawatts in 5 years. So that led to a lot of investments from private equity. A lot of solar developers came in the market. They installed large ground mount solar plants. The rooftop industry has, relative to the ground mount industry, struggled more because there have been more regulatory challenges. The utilities don't always, the discoms don't always know how to do the permitting, do the applications, process those. Sometimes there are challenges with billing. So, I mean, policy support has been decent, but the end implementation has struggled in a lot of areas. So that's been one challenge for the industry as a whole. The second challenge has been that central policies and state policies have not always, pointed in the same direction. So while the center is saying that, okay, we want more solar, put more solar, but then you have states like Tamil Nadu, uh, states like Maharashtra even, which try to get gross metering done for their state. And gross metering is, while it's definitely a concept that I feel is more sustainable in the long term. Right now is not the time for doing gross metering because it's a very nascent phase for the rooftop solar industry, and it has to be supported. The economics have to get worked out. They have to be self-sustainable. So that is the time where the government can take a step back. But right now, it does need support.
That's something which we are well aware, I guess. So now I understand, Solar Labs is not like a proper solar, company who does a lot of projects and stuff. They more into the technical and to, help EPCs thrive in terms of efficiency. So like in the long run, now in India, the industry is obviously growing. So how do you see Solar Labs helping the EPCs, in the future?
So yeah, definitely. So we're not a project construction company. We're a software company, and we focus on developing software, developing platforms, which can enable more solar growth, which through either bringing in more awareness to end customers, or to help the solar EPCs reduce their engineering costs, help them better design higher quality of systems so that net energy generation is higher. So that's the key to what that's one big challenge, as I said at the start, right? And that is the problem that we want to solve and continue to solve.
Awesome. I mean, it's just that how we, surpass all the hurdles in between. Basically, now when we're talking about these things, problems, and we're trying to get past them, obviously, in the long run, in a particular business trajectory, how would you envision Solar's Labs business trajectory in India and abroad?
So we have a decent foothold in India now, having launched over the past year. The software has proven to provide value to our customers, and like one way of evaluating that is on the number of proposals that they are making through our product. That has continuously gone up. We're seeing renewals also in the subscriptions, so it's definite that they are getting value. That's why renewals are happening. Right. So primarily in the first year, our target has been towards shipping in India. But the same product now we've also taken to global markets. So we have now customers in Southeast Asia, some customers in Middle East, and some in the US as well. So for us, year 2, year 3, year 4 are going to be more focused on capturing more market share in India, as well as getting a market share globally as well.
I understand being the CEO of the Solar Labs, it's a huge responsibility during these, tough times. So, have you made any plan changes or hard decisions in the current scenario?
No, so as of now, we have not made any changes with respect to our investments in the technology development or sales and marketing. But we have pivoted towards like internationalization of our product a little faster. So now we are more actively approaching customers in foreign areas, countries where the lockdown has not been implemented with such a force. And yeah, I think that's been the major change in terms of how we have reacted to it. However, if the lockdown continues further beyond May 3rd, then we may have to take some tough decisions, because the lockdown has essentially shut the solar industry down, right? It's a construction industry, so so it won't function when you're not allowed to move around. So construction won't happen first, and the second part is that people are not going to meet you, and construction is a higher ticket size item where you need to meet to close deals. So that's not happening right now. So I believe that once the lockdown once the lockdown ends, then we should be able to get to our normal revenues. But till then, it's going to be a struggle.
So, I mean, apart from let's keep the businesses and all the serious stuff aside. Now, let's talk about how the lockdown has, you know, maybe groomed or helped you personally. So, generally, they say it takes 21 days to, discover a new habit or, start something new. Have you done anything lately?
So yeah, and 21 days was the duration of the first lockdown also. So that I thought this exact same thing that okay, 21 days, let's bring a habit. So yeah, I have made a habit to read a few articles, or I have a few books on my desk. So I make sure to read at least one chapter every night. So I think I've gotten into a habit of doing that. I had a few other commitments that I started with respect to exercising more or waking up a little earlier, but those I have failed on. But yeah, so that's been my personal journey.
Awesome. And what are the few things which, you absolutely love about the lockdown? You know,
So I am staying right now in my family's house. So this is the house I grew up in Jaipur. So I was lucky to come home like a week before the actual lockdown started. And like incidentally, we had also just shut down our office like 2 weeks before the lockdown, the official lockdown. So by that time, all of our employees and team members had already gone home. So for the team, I think everyone is really enjoying working from home, spending more time with their families, and yes, I think that's the main advantage. Some of the things that I miss about, that I miss due to this imposed lockdown is obviously going to office and being with everybody, being with the team, making things happen. Digital, it's good, but it's not really the same as being in the same office or same room and really working and interacting with people. So that's something that I really miss. In addition to that, there's always it's always harder to get some documentation and paperwork done. So those are some challenges.
awesome. That's really good stuff, Siddarth. Definitely this insight and your whatever you've been doing right now in the current scenario definitely would help a lot of viewers and young entrepreneurs to think back on their own business ideas and try to make it a little better for the world, as you're in the renewable energy sector. So this is something which I like personally we respect from Carbon Paper. Business is one thing, but obviously doing something for the environment is another. So let's on that note, maybe we can raise our coffee mugs for our our series ritual, if you may. So we generally do a toast with our guests, just to in goodwill for the future. So I hope you have your coffee mug, and maybe you can just raise it on top, and we can. So my toast is to your success and all the efforts, to pivot your business and keeping up with the current trends and the future of the solar industry in India. Yeah, kudos to you, man.
Same. So my toast is towards everybody recovering from this crisis and everyone being safe and healthy at this time, but obviously longer term recovery. So.